Welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. And today we're talking about the last episode and the whole entire season of WandaVision. And we're going to go to the man that he always has a sign up that says, got questions about crack? He can tell you about the trap life. And if you got questions about how to make him work on the track, he can tell you about the pimp life. So, Big Mike, how do you like the last episode of WandaVision?
I liked it. Progressively gotten better each time. And I think it was definitely one of the better episodes. Put a bow on everything and kind of got Wanda to where she needed to be prior to moving forward through phase 4. So she's supposed to be an integral part. They finally built her up and had her realize her true self and her real powers. Particularly like the scene where she finally became Scarlet Witch. I like how they execute, even with the whole, how the mask kind of went on her head, how it formed, the suit formed. Because I kept wondering, like, how are we going to get to the costume part and all that? Trying to figure that out. And the way they did it, I thought was done really well. I thought for a Disney Plus series, the cinematography of it was still kind of on a grand scale for that particular scene. Her character now has a complete arc from the previous phases, and now they're starting this arc going into the new phase. It's almost like she came full circle and she's starting to circle over again, because now she's not just Wanda. Now I would call her she's Scarlet Witch. They've given her enough weight and gravitas, I believe, to walk into Multiverse of Madness, possibly cause the problems, live up to that focal point that they've been building her up to. A lot of good emotional points again with her and Vision. I would argue this is one of Paul Bettany's best performances. He's got some lines in here, whoever wrote them, that are kind of some gems. I see people bringing them up on the internet every day, and I'm like, I can't argue with it. They're kind of some tough lines. But I think they really hit the emotional connection between him and Wanda. And again, this really made a beautiful story to where, like I said, the last episode, when it showed you all the details, made me appreciate the first 3 that I wasn't high on. And then this just made me really appreciate the whole series as an entirety. Like, I would go back and watch the whole thing again now and be fine with watching the whole thing all the way through. Like I said, I thought it was really well done. Great episode. I think if there's anything disappointing, it would be all the rumors of people that you heard might show up and then didn't show up. I know that they apparently did film a scene with Doctor Strange, but then they cut it at the last minute and took it out. I don't know what might have come from the scene, but I thought they would have something with him to kind of lead into that. But most Marvel movies in the first phases, you have post-credit scenes and things that show up on other shows that have something to do with another movie or whatever. So maybe they'll come up on one of the next series as a post-credit scene or a bonus or something somewhere along the line. So I'm not too disappointed with that. They haven't gone full force with the multiverse yet, but we know it's coming. In some ways, that might have been a little disappointing, but just had to wait and see where Marvel goes with it. But like I said, overall, I thought it was a really good episode.
Keith?
I enjoyed it. It was like a kind of a culmination of everything that we were looking for. And the fight scenes were good. Special effects were great. The strategic use of her abilities and the nice little capper that they placed on it. I chuckled a bit when realized that Piotr, he's really dead. He's gone. And they just kind of used the actor just as an actor and stuff like that. It didn't have any meaning or ties to the X-Men and stuff. So they'd already kind of told us that wasn't going to be the case. So I wasn't feeling really bad about that, but kind of felt like there was a joke at our expense. But there's no hard feelings in terms of that, you know. But I really did enjoy the show. It was a good finale. As good a series finale as you can kind of hope for without them giving away too much. I'm excited for what they've got coming out next. The idea of them not doing the Netflix move of releasing everything in one go, that works for them. So Disney Plus, I'm keeping my subscription to check out the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Loki, which is next after that. So I'll be watching all those series. I always knew that Marvel knew what the heck they were doing. You know, but this just solidified it, because on paper, something my wife was telling me, it was like, on paper, if someone were to tell you this was the premise of the show, that the first 3 episodes are going to be riffs of old classic TV shows, they're not even going to talk about the plot. It's all going to be about, they're going to be 30-minute arcs and done in the same style as 1950s TV shows. And we're going to spend a boatload of money on it. It's going to star the Vision, and it's going to star Scarlet Witch. This is the show. It shouldn't work, but it did work. See that it did work, and that there's no doubt in your mind that this is going to be an enjoyable ride. Again, if you'd have read this full-blown synopsis of, or even then sat in the pitch meeting for this, it's just been like, okay, we're just going to go by what you say. All right, Kevin Feige, you can do whatever you want to do. Here's a blank check. Just do it, make it good. This is well done. And I was appreciative of it. I like the throwbacks to the Darkhold and to Scarlet Witch in general. Kind of pumped with Doctor Strange all over again.
All right, Matt?
What is grief if not love persevering? Good Lord. Talk about symbolism. Talk about how it means in today's society. Look how Marvel trolled pretty much the whole world. How Vision, no one knew that it was going to be White Vision or Clear Vision or whatever you want to call it. They have done a phenomenal job as far as a lot of Easter eggs, references to other things in the Marvel universe, whether it's comic book or not comic book. I knew the first couple episodes of the series itself was a build-up eventually to episode 8 and 9. Very well done. Although I really think as far as Quicksilver, I think that was kind of funny. Still think that he still has something to do with the Marvel universe, the Fox version, despite the boner joke that they had in the end, which was kind of funny. The Rambo character is a little bit forced, in my opinion. I mean, it's nice to see something kind of develop, but I don't think that she'll be as impactful as what everyone thinks she will be. A very good series. I hope it does tie into the other series that do come out later on Disney Plus. And from my understanding, Scarlet Witch will be the centerpiece for Phase 4 that leads eventually to Phase 5. So good job, Marvel.
Jay?
Well done. I have said in the very beginning of this series on this podcast that I was disinterested in this because the first, 2-3 episodes. And last week I stated that the last episode got me more interested. Now, the perfect ending to me. Of course, it's not an ending, but it's a perfect ending to this show, but a good beginning to something greater. And I told you after I finished watching, I said, man, this writing is amazing. Just the lines, like Vision was spitting hot fire on motherfuckers. So I was like, damn, it was so just poignant what he was saying and so poetic, and it had a lot of meaning behind it. It was very well done, and delivery of the lines were just so well done. I mean, it was great. The writing is so good that it's telling a complete story. You start to feel for Wanda. You start to feel their relationship. You start feeling their dynamic relationship, and you start feeling like the loss and that she felt. You can relate. You felt all of it. And that was the whole goal of the series. And they did a great job at making you feel that. If you didn't feel anything by watching this series, you're emotionless. It was good. And it kind of touched on how powerful the Scarlet Witch actually is. We're just at the beginning of her powers. Like, she's just learning about her powers. She doesn't fully know or understand her powers as of yet. This is some good shit. I'm just looking forward to how it's going to continue in Phase 4.
All right. So when I was watching this, the only thing I kept thinking about was that one throwaway scene in Captain America Civil War when Vision was sitting there cooking for Wanda and he wouldn't let her leave. That one throwaway scene in that movie turned into this. I think it's very creative to make, again, two B-level tier characters into this television show. Ant-Man and the Wasp TV show. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, okay. But they have done the impossible. They've made two characters that, one, the romance of it didn't really resonate in the movies, really hit home on that part of it, and then built out the Marvel universe relatively well. I mean, whether it be the comic book side of it, whether it be the movie side of it, the MCU side of it, but they've done a great job of it. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Still don't like those first 3 episodes, but this makes up for it. Any other comments?
I think one of my favorite scenes was the scene the two Visions stopped fighting and talked. Boat of Theseus, the ship of Theseus. What is it? Is it both the boats or whatever? You know, if you take the original parts and create a new boat, or if you create a boat from in the same style and the same image of it, which one's the real one? We're kind of hoping and wishing, like, hey, now are they going to merge together to be a Vision brought back? No, that's not the case. Something else happened, and something that can be just as good or not as good, but still has potential. So in a traditional film sense or a movie, you would have the good and the bad fight each other until one is defeated. Move on with the hero's journey ending and that type of thing. But in this term, Marvel did something completely different. They subverted the expectation and went with not just what the source material had, but with what good storytelling would dictate. Vision that was there was real, at the same time wasn't real. He's not coming back. They didn't negate death by bringing the Vision back. Someone who gets killed is going to die in the Marvel Universe. So I like that they were able to bring the Vision back, but not bring him back in a way that kind of broke it, a la Star Wars.
All right, we'll go to scores. So, Big Mike, what score would you give the whole entire season of WandaVision?
The whole entire season, I would give a 9. By the end of it, I think it was a very well done series. Like he said, just the whole concept, if you read that on paper, it was kind of like, ain't no way hell this is going to work. And then mess around and turn around, and it did work, and they did a really good job with it. Like I said, it started off slow to me, but I can appreciate the reason why that was done now and the significance behind it. And for me, like I said, it was just Marvel, again, executing their plan to damn near perfection, and just, like you say, it took 2 B-level characters and had you emotionally invested in them by the end of the series and really rooting for what's to come in the future. So, like I said, I give it a 9. I thought it was really well done.
Keith?
I would give this 9.5. I didn't mind the first 3 episodes, and when I rewatched the season again, I watched the first few episodes as diligently as I watched the later episodes. But I will admit that they were slow and pacing, and there were ways to have made it more interesting. So it's not perfect, but I give it a 9.5. It was well done series. The same as Guardians of the Galaxy is something that should not have worked. At the same time, it's Marvel, and these guys will make it work. Phenomenal series. I can get used to something like this, taking other characters and applying them just the same way. We don't need feature-length films introing characters. You've got a streaming service, and this is a good use for it. 9.5, good stuff.
Matt?
9.5, effortless way to go ahead and start phase 4 in the right direction. It was a little different than what the traditional action movies are, but a lot of homage to Easter eggs and the comic books. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see all these theories. Just gets a great way for us talking.
Jay?
All right, for the whole series in the beginning, if I didn't watch the last couple of episodes and get caught up, I would give this thing maybe a 5. It has changed my mind. I give it a 9.5. Said I'm excited for phase 4. I just want to see what they're going to do with it right now. They're actually showing not her full potential, but they're showing you glimpses of her potential. And we just scratched the surface with what she could really, really do. Great storytelling, great writing. I mean, there was nothing wrong with this at all. I know a lot of people were probably disappointed because they had their fan theories and none of those fan theories came out to be correct. But still very good, regardless of if fan theories were proven wrong. It doesn't matter. But it was a very good show. Very good show. 9.5.
All right, so I'm going to give this an 8.5. I think for me, it was just a little bit of inconsistency with some of the episodes. Obviously, early on, it attempted to establish something that I didn't think was well thought out. Episode 4 on really started getting to the core or the crux of what all this stuff means. So if this was around the time of Civil War and someone said, hey, there's a Wanda and Vision TV show, like, that's funny. But nevertheless, Marvel did it. Wow. That's all I can say. Yeah, a Loki TV show makes sense. Nevertheless, it's good to see that they actually got this out. It works for Disney Plus, but I could also see this kind of being that Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. level of TV show.
No way.
See what you mean by that, but the production value was a lot better. Plus, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not as tightly focused as this one. Too much filler in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Not a replacement for the movies, but it was a supplement and added more to what you saw in the movies themselves. It's kind of a setup for what was coming. Happened in WandaVision is something that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should have had more of. Delving more into the other heroes and other characters, so fleshing them out a little bit more and giving them more of a chance to sign on their own and stuff. Introing characters that could have been gone to the movies themselves, like the character of Quake, S.H.I.E.L.D. itself, that type of thing.
Would you have seen this in the movie theaters? And do you feel that if this whole series went into the movies, as far as a however long movie, 2.5, 3 hour movie, that you would have felt it been worth it? I think part of this is also strategic, gives us weeks guest theories talking again as far as what was happening, considering we went a whole year with nothing. I mean, how else would have they dived into the storyline of Scarlet Witch outside of the series? And to have the depth that it did, what is the other solution?
I guess release the Black Widow. I would say in a down year that this does hold the Marvel edge. A lot of stuff. I mean, it's pretty much holding down most comic book TV shows. I mean, excluding the Warner Brothers, CW stuff. This is probably the best thing coming out. So it's those
The
two.
Invincible animated show coming out.
The Invincible, what? What is that?
And Invincible, the animated series. He doesn't have all of Superman's powers, but
Isn't that on Amazon Prime?
yes.
Yeah, I just saw the trailer the other day.
Superman, if he uses powers like intelligently, and if he didn't give a fuck about saving people's lives.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a sequel to Brightburn. Me and James are going to write it. But, all right. So, Beast Game Podcast. Good job, Marvel. Congrats. And I guess we'll wait another 2 weeks to see Falcon and Winter Soldier. And also Justice League. All right.
Yeah, is that next week?
2 weeks from now. It's the weekend 18th, 19th, 20th. Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is 19.
All right.
Although there's a Disney thing that's coming out next week. I guess maybe it's a behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah. Kind of like the making of the WandaVision series. Same thing, kind of like how they did about Mandalorian, show you all the behind the scenes, how they made it, sort of thing. They did the same thing with WandaVision.
All right. Beast Game Podcast.